conversation yesterday regarding the Mariners. I spent a little more time researching it yesterday to get as much of the story as I could. I don't know that I liked a whole lot of what I found out. I mean, so there's this big question about the RSN money, right? And that's sort of the crux of the explanation for why the Mariners have retreated. And unfortunately, in asking national folks, the story I get is a little bit different than the one when you ask locally kind of what's going on, right? You get a lot of locally with the RSNs and the money, and it disappeared and yada, yada. Everyone else going to have a problem. Okay, fine. But when I ask around nationally, more of the story I got was, yeah, it's a problem, but it's not as big a problem as they're making it out to be. And also Major League Baseball is eventually going to fix it. Well, if Major League Baseball is going to fix it, but it might take them a year or so to do it, well, it might be on you to not take away all of the momentum that you had garnered here over the last couple of years. So I said this at 6 o'clock, Brock, and I know I talked a lot yesterday. I want to make sure I give you some time to actually talk about this because I feel like I kind of hogged that entire segment yesterday. I appreciate your patience with me. But, it dawns on me that, one, a lot of the reason for frustration, at least on my part, goes back 5 years. I know some Mariner fans are saying, no, it goes back 20 years or whatever. For me,
right,
it doesn't go back 15 years that I've lived here or whatever it's been. It goes back 5. It goes back to the rebuild. It goes back to what I called earlier sort of a tacit agreement between the fans and the team. We won't get mad at you for not being good for a few years. We will continue to support the idea of where you're going. But when you get there, you better reward us. You better finish the job.
Yes.
And it feels like someone pulled the rug out from under us today because we supported them. We held up our end of the bargain, and they're not doing that. They're instead getting right to the most critical juncture and not following through with the promise that was made. And I think that's why this stings so much. It feels like a knife. It really is painful. And certainly, look, I was all about the rebuild. That's what I wanted them to do. You have to finish the job or else the entire thing was a waste of 5 years and a lot of trust and everything else. So that's sort of part one. The second part is I believe that the RSN issue is real. I'm not doubting that there is a financial issue and something that comes with money that was counted on that's now not going to be there. Whether that was a problem or a business decision or whatever that you made, maybe some of the people that made it aren't there anymore, fine. The Cincinnati Reds are spending money.
The Arizona Diamondbacks lost their network as well and just went to the World Series and decided to trade for Suarez and add others.
You just aren't the only one in this situation.
No.
So I just can't. And the last thing in the world I want to do is praise Reds ownership, which has been the worst. I mean, just awful, almost A's level bad.
Mm-hmm.
But they're out there. They spent $75 million already this offseason. Now, they had a lower payroll to start, but they're in a teeny little market. Nobody lives there. Arizona, you're right, is spending money. Texas, obviously, last year spent money. They may have issues in the future, but the Mariners' window is now.
Yes. That is why I think the people are just apoplectic. Why it's over the top, Salk, is you do have Julio. You do have Cal. You do have George. You do have Logan. You do have Luis. You do have JP. You've got these pieces now, and a lot of it is young in this young core that just need to. And it is why Cal and JP did what they did at the end of the season. Okay, we're here. And as Jerry said to us, maybe with a little hubris last year, but fine, he was right. We are the envy of a lot of organizations. They would want our young core. They would want our cost-controlled young players.
Still true.
In particular pitchers, if you throw Miller and Wu and others into there as well. So those things are all there, and that is why I think the diehard baseball fan here in this town, I think the middle-of-the-road baseball fan, I think the jump-aboard baseball fan, I think the Julio baseball fan is like, they're here. Now finish the deal. Now go add. Now go in that portal and bring the rest of the people that can take us to a college football semifinal. Don't just say, no, we're good. Or we're going to go with Urias at third base. Or, we're going to just, expect Canzone to take a big step next year. And we're going to just hope upon some of these people that haven't done it before versus those with a track record of achievement to come in here. And frankly, I think that was some of the fervor last year.
Except last year, some of that wasn't true. They did go with guys who had done it before.
Correct.
They didn't do it again.
Is that true, Barnes? By the way, Barnes, was your note true last night in the show note? Was that true? That A.J. Pollock got the most guaranteed money in free agency of any Dipoto signee?
Hitter.
$7 million.
Yeah, they haven't signed free agent hitters. It's just not what they've done.
Right.
I think they're probably going to do that this year, but yeah, they really haven't. I think before that it was Norieoki, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, they just really have not gone that route when it comes to free agency and bats. Anyway,
yes.
Yeah. I'm so frustrated, I got to tell you.
Well, can I just say, Joe Fan's tweet got me last night. I don't know if you saw, he reposted your rant, and there's been a lot of viewership of your rant.
No, that's good.
Which is awesome.
Wasn't a rant.
Okay. And I don't know if you saw Joe's response, and maybe you won't appreciate this, but I thought it was pretty funny. Joe Fan tweeted last night and reposted, the conversation and said, it's dire when Mariners ownership has lost Salk. Well done, sir. A1 rant.
Well, yeah. I mean, okay. I don't think anyone ever had me or lost me. I disagree with that characterization of it. I get what Joe's saying.
You understood last year, and you argued vehemently that just throwing money doesn't work.
Well, because, Brock, what you just said earlier, get guys who've done it before. They did.
Yep.
It didn't work, obviously, but A.J. Pollock had been to a World Series and had plenty of good seasons. Colton Wong, been to a World Series, had plenty of good seasons. They got guys with World Series experience who had good careers.
Yep.
Both of them completely fell off the cliff last year. Teoscar didn't quite do what you'd hoped he'd do, and yet everybody wants to focus on the 26th guy on the roster, Tommy La Stella. The problem here is Luis Urias is not going to be the 26th guy on the roster right now. Now, I think they're going to do some stuff between now and spring training, obviously. But as of today,
if they play tomorrow.
If this kid starts at third base, Brock, I'm going to lose my mind. Tommy La Stella was like, he played 5 games for the Mariners. This kid's not as good as Tommy La Stella.
Yep.
I can't fathom how you're going to tell me you're going to run this out there. Mm-hmm. So this is
2 years ago when healthy, he hit 20 home runs. Okay.
Did he?
I believe he did. Yes, I believe he did. A couple years ago when he was fully healthy and everything else, he's had a couple rough seasons. Don't hold me to that, but I think I'm right on that one. And that may be some of the narrative. Like, hey, we're going to get him in the right spot. We're going to put him in a position for success. He's healthy, yada, yada, yada.
In 2021, he did hit 23 home runs in Milwaukee. You're right. Okay. So in 2021, he hit 23 home runs in a hitter's bandbox. Yes. And since then hasn't done much of anything. 17 home runs the next year. And then after that, it was, 8 last year. So, I'm sorry. I'm not real wild about what you're rolling out there as of today, and I do think that there's a lot still to be done. I do think that there are some big names, shouldn't say big names, good names that are well within reach that will help this team.
So when Goldie was sitting in that seat a couple weeks ago when you were out, and Goldie filled in, and I said to Aaron Goldsmith, tell me what you want. Tell me what you want, what you really, really want. Now tell me what you want. So, and he said, and I thought he summarized this well, and I've kind of leaned into it, really, since he said it. I want impact. I want impact. I want impact in obviously right now with what they have done, and everybody out the door has been an impact bat in Teo, an impact bat in Suarez. You have seen home runs and some impact walk out the door. But I want impact with a capital I. Is there enough impact still out there right now for the Mariners to trade and make a difference with their offense?
Depends how you want to do it. I think what there is in free agency is quality. I don't know whether you would call it impact.
And it's old quality, right?
Not all of it. Some of it is. Some of it's not. I mean, if you want Justin Turner, obviously that's going old. But you don't have to go with Justin Turner. I mean, there's some other much younger players that I think would have, a significant, I don't want to say impact. You're right. You just used that word. That's not quite the right word. But Rhys Hoskins is a good player. Mm-hmm. He's a good player who's going to play this year at 31. Is that old? It's older, but I don't know if I would say that's. I mean, it's not Justin Turner's going to be 39.
Correct.
Right? And Rhys Hoskins, for his career, is an 846 OPS guy. He's got a bunch of home runs. I mean, he can hit you. I mean, he's hit as many as 34 home runs in a year. The last year he was healthy, he didn't play at all last year, but in 2022, he hit 30 again in a bandbox in Philly. But I mean, he's a good player who's hit a bunch of home runs and has some power and would help your team. Mm-hmm. Mitch Garver would do that as well, right? You saw what he did in the World Series and playoff run for Texas. Similar kind of player, first base, DH type. He would help. Is he an impact bat? No, but he would be an upgrade, certainly, over some of what you've had in the past. Solaire's closer, although his numbers were down a little bit last year, but he's played in 2 World Series, won them both. I mean, he's a guy who's been around and has some pop. And yeah, all right, there are some guys. If you want impact... Look, I used the name Randy Arozarena a few times. I think he would provide some impact. I don't know whether they're going to go in that direction, and I don't know what he is as a clubhouse guy and all that stuff, but I think those are the types of names that have real impact. Mm-hmm. Do you think Josh Naylor, is that an impact bat from Cleveland?
No.
I mean, like, he's a good player with really good numbers. There are some good players out there that are available via trade, but if you want impact... I don't know whether that's going to be available until you start thinking about dealing Wu or Miller, et cetera, and you're opening up another can of worms at that point.
Mm-hmm. What do you think JP and Cal in this clubhouse is feeling right now?
I think, and I don't know the answer to this, and I don't feel all that comfortable speaking for them any more than I felt comfortable yesterday speaking for the ownership and telling you whether or not they had enough money. You're asking me to answer for people who I'm not speaking to, so I don't know how to answer that.
Yeah.
My understanding and sort of impression is that they're still in wait-and-see mode, that I don't believe the clubhouse threw any sort of a fit over losing Jared Kelenic, Marco Gonzalez, Evan White. I don't think there was an uprising over losing Teoscar Hernandez. I'm sure there was some frustration over the Gino Suarez deal, but if you can replace it with better talent, I don't think that they've lost anything that anyone is going to be too upset about inside this clubhouse. But if you're only going to bring back roughly the equivalent talent and then say, let's hope that the cards get dealt a little bit better this time, I don't know why Cal or JP would feel any better heading into next season.
Yep, I would agree. That Canzone's going to take a step, that Trammell's going to take a step, that some of these guys are going to be, Cade Marlowe's going to take a step. Like, you just can't.
Those are some good depth players, by the way. Those are good players to have in your organization. I like that they're there to help.
Absolutely.
But I'm not really interested in banking on all of them.
No. And are they going to close the gap with the 2 teams that are in your division? And on paper, it's not much of a gap, right? On paper, it was just a couple games. On paper, it all came down to the final 8 games that you played against Texas and Houston.
And let's see what happens. There's rumors that Houston's shopping Bregman and looking to maybe even shop Justin Tucker because they want to move on from some money and they can't re-sign guys. Like, I think that the monetary stuff around the game will have some impact on what happens throughout baseball. But is it going to be as much as the Mariners have suggested? I don't know. Folks around the game have told me maybe not. So we'll wait and find out. Right now, I am incredibly frustrated. I feel really hurt, and I feel like a lot of what we kind of bought into over the last 5 years has ended up coming back around and not being returned from the group that we made the promise with.